Hello and welcome back to Garage Talk episode number 2. All right, this is the second time from my garage where we're recording just to talk about things. Hey, this time I even got a list, okay? Finally, I actually made a little bit of list to make sure I got a couple topics that I didn't forget. All right, for those of you who are new to the channel, have ever seen me, seen my videos, whether you know it or not, I don't have a script. I just, whatever I'm dealing with, whatever's in my head, whatever comes out, that's what it is, and that's what you see. All right, here though, I actually put together a few thoughts to make sure I didn't lose my way. All right, so I wanted to get together, put this video in here. I've done a couple of outdoor videos here recently, fairly long. I think the last one was over 27 minutes. I want to make sure this time I don't go that long. I want to be a lot quicker because to me, it's hard to sit around for that long. So, what are we going to talk about? Let's start with the first thing, the most recently announced OM Systems lens, the OM 50-200 F2.8 Pro. I have not used it, all right? I have not even seen it. I've seen videos, all right? And it sounds great. Everything I've seen in the videos looks great. My belief is it's going to be a pretty darn good lens. Now, I used that focal length years ago, all right? Back before the 40-150, F2.8 Pro was out there, before a lot of the current lenses that I own, the 300 F4, they didn't exist when I first started, all right, with Olympus products back in 2014. So the first lens I had was a 50-200, not micro four thirds, but a 4/3 lens. All right, and I bought that lens for about $375, and then I basically attached an adapter that took it from 4/3 to micro 4/3, and I also had an f1.4 TC to give us a little bit of extra range, and that was really my go-to long distance, telephoto lens. I mean, that's what I had back in the days. All right. And I like that lens for what it cost and what it did. It turned out fantastic images and video. Now, I didn't do videos at that time, but I did take some videos just so I had things to look at. What I want to do here, I'm going to put a video in and an image in, give you an idea what that lens was like from a trip that I made back in, I think it was 2015, all right, to Glacier National Park. And my wife, while we were there, I wanted to go to Fisher Cap Lake, and I wanted to try to photograph moose. All right, because that if you didn't know that, Fisher Cap Lake is known for the moose and everything in the area, and a lot of the photographs you see online, a lot of the videos you see online are used from that area. All right, so we hiked out there, and lo and behold, had to be a big old bull moose out in the middle of the lake. So I set up with my 50-200 and my OM1, whether you mark just OM1, the original OM1, 16 megapixels. All right. Took, the images I just put in, or the video I just put in, I took those, all right, with that setup. And I think it did pretty good. For what I paid for it and what was out there, I think it did the job at the time. All right. Matter of fact, I kept that all the way up until I got out of micro 4/3 in 2020 or 2021 for a short period of time when I went to Canon. All right. I had that lens right up until the end because I enjoyed it. So I would expect that this lens is equivalent or better. It's going to be better. All right. Let's not kid ourselves. It's going to be better. Fantastic lens. I'm sure it's great. If you're looking for, any information or you're looking for additional videos on it, Guido van der Water, from over in the Netherlands, I think he did a couple videos on it. He's an OM System ambassador. All right. And he, got a chance to use it really before it's even out. So he did a couple videos with it. So I'll put a link to his channel in the description so you can go find it, but check it out. In my opinion, it's going to be a good lens. All right. So now item number 2 on my list. And you've seen the last couple videos, I've made using my 12-40, f2.8 PRO II. All right. Good lens. Nothing but great things to say about it. All right, it's the second version. To be honest, I don't see anything different with the second version than I did the first. The first was unbelievably fantastic, other than the focus clutch issue, you know, and this one feels the same. The one thing I will say I like better about it is that at least on my OM1 Mark II, it seems, I feel it balances better in my hand, and it feels better when I'm using it than my 12 to 45 F4 did. You know, I think it's a much better fit for what I'm doing today, or for the cameras I'm using today. But focal wise, or, you know, image wise, seems to be the same to me. And yeah, it still has the focus clutch, and I got to keep my mind on that so I don't screw it up, you know. But I think it's a great lens. So now if you're thinking about it, if you don't own it, and I know several of my viewers own it, all right, if you don't own it and you're thinking about it, it's a great lens. Whether you buy it new, used, doesn't really matter. It's out there, it's available. It's going to be fantastic no matter what you do. I got mine off of eBay. All right, now, I don't buy a lot of stuff off eBay, but I found this one on eBay. It was a like new in box. You know, I think I paid $660 or $610 for it, something like that. You know, and it's a good lens. I'm really happy with it, and I'm going to be using it for a long time to come. So I highly encourage you, if you don't have it, look at adding it to your kit if you can afford it. And if you can't, that's fine too. Every lens that's out there is good, so it doesn't really matter. All right, now, next thing on my list, all right, fall trips. All right, you know, if you remember, I've been talking about, I wanted to go out to Watkins Glen and photograph, you know, fall color at Watkins Glen, and I really do want to do that. Problem is, when I was doing the research, getting ready to set up and go do it, I found out there's a lot of construction going on at Watkins Glen, and a couple of the trails are closed, and I didn't want to take a chance of driving all the way out there and then finding that I couldn't do everything that I wanted to do, so I decided to not do that. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll take a ride up to the UP in Michigan, you know, go to a place that I've been to before, you know, that I really enjoyed, you know, called Tahquamenon Falls. I think it's how it's pronounced. It's in the UP, excuse me, and it's a really nice place. So what I'll do here is I'll put an image of that in. One of the images I took there from a few years ago, so you can see it. But great place to photograph. Then I found out as I was doing my research for that, there's construction going on there around the falls. They're adding additional viewing areas. So I'm like, well, I drive all the way up there. It's 12 hours away. The next thing I know, I can't shoot anything. So, or I can't get the shot that I want. So it's like, throw that aside. Although I have to admit, I still really considered going, because if you didn't know, if you've never been there, there is a microbrewery, basically walking distance right down a trail from it. I mean, it's less than a quarter of a mile is my guess. All right, great beer. You know, love going there. So I almost went just because of that, but in the end, I'm not going. So what am I going to do? Here in a couple weeks, I'm going down to the Great Smoky Mountains for a couple days. All right, we're going to actually camp in the Adventure Jeep. We're going to take the Adventure Jeep. We're going to sleep in it. We're going to spend one night in the Elkmont National Park campground, and we're going to spend the second night over in Cataloochee Valley in the National Park campground there. And we'll just capture different videos, maybe sunrise, sunset, things like that, waterfalls, you know, mills. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to capture when I'm not in Cataloochee, but I'll pick some things up while I'm there. Hopefully capture some good fall color. Hopefully the colors will be in bloom by the time I get there, which somewhere around, I didn't look for sure at the calendar, 18th, 19th, 20th, somewhere in that range, all right, is when I'll be there. But, you know, I'm going to try to see if I can find some things and take photographs of it. And then obviously I want to get into Cataloochee later in the day and to make sure that I'm there before sunsets, because I would love to capture sunset there with the elk across Cataloochee Valley. If you've never been there, that's an experience at this time of year, bar none. It's right at the top of my list. I mean, if it's not number one, it's number two, because it's just a fantastic place to go. All right, so I'm going to take some shots there and spend the night in the Jeep, get up the next morning, go back out as the sun's coming up, take images hopefully of elk again, and, you know, maybe hopefully some beautiful fall colors. We'll find out, but that's the first thing we're going to do coming up here in a couple weeks. And then the week after, much like I stated in the video prior to this one, I'm going to go back down to the Red River Gorge. All right, I'm going to go back down to Chimney Top Rock. I'm going to, probably go back out to Princess Arch and hopefully capture some fall colors at this time. Again, assuming the weather's good, assuming all those things happen. But, no way of knowing for sure. But I'm going to try to do that. I may even go down and spend the night in the Adventure Jeep, get up early and go to a couple other places, take some other shots. Haven't fully planned it out at this point, but definitely going to go back down, as I stated in the previous video, to the Red River Gorge to make sure that I can try to capture some form of fall color. Hopefully there'll be some by the time I get there. But that's the plan for the fall. All right, so now what do I have planned after that? That's what's in the balance of my list. All right, so now after the fall trip, basically from there until the end of March, which is when, if you guys remember, and I've talked about it already, I'm going to retire at the end of March. It's also my 40th wedding anniversary. I'll get out as I can, or I'll do a couple videos from my garage, take images all around the area here in northern Kentucky, and I'll share whatever I can do or come up with, during that time. But when we get to the end of March, all right, and I retire, and after my anniversary, my wife and I are going to go spend 8 days in Ireland. All right, I've been to Ireland several times. My wife has never been. Someplace she'd like to go, so we're going to go spend some time in Ireland, to kind of celebrate, technically, I guess, my retirement and for our 40th wedding anniversary. And I will be taking along my camera equipment, and I'll be videoing, and trying to put together videos of that trip. Whether it'll be 1, 2, 3, I don't know for sure yet. I haven't given it a lot of thought. At this point, I'm planning to take my own one, Mark II, along with the 12 to 40 F2.8. Not sure if I'm going to take a GoPro or my DJI Pocket 2, or I'll just do it all right, with the OM1. It'll be one or the other, but take a light bag and just going to use that, one camera, one lens, see what I can capture when I'm in Ireland, just trying to enjoy myself, because again, in my life, I don't get vacations. Even when I'm on vacation, I have to work. I'm always involved in work every single day. So this will be the first time really that I can think of in a long time where I'm actually going to be able to just go and enjoy. And I'm hoping it's a whole different feeling and a whole better hopefully my photography will be better, because my head will be in a better place, but we'll find out. All right, so after that, before I go find my part-time job or whatever I'm going to do in my retirement here for the next couple of years, along with what I'm doing here, I'll still continue, at least my plan is to continue doing this, all right, at least as long as I can afford to, all right. I'm thinking of doing one of two things. All right, there's two trips that I like to do. One, and the one I think I'm going to do, but certainly share comments what you think. I want to go out to the Badlands in South Dakota, and I would love to be able to photograph sunrise at an area called the Wall. And if you've never heard of it or never seen it, you may also find it under a Nomad view. It's a BLM public camping land. It sits right on the outskirts of the Badlands. You're up on the hill overlooking the Badlands. So when the sun comes up, it basically illuminates the Badlands in front of you. Very popular camping area. I'm going to take, if I'm doing this, I'm taking the Adventure Jeep, staying in the Adventure Jeep, photographing sunrise. All right. That's a long way to drive for one day, so we're not going to do that. But we're going to do more in a day. And I'll spend a little bit of time probably in the park looking for some bison or something to photograph as well. From there, I want to go a couple hours farther west, all right, and try to do sunrise, sunset, one or the other or both, all right, at Devil's Tower. All right, I've seen it. I've just never been close enough to it to really get a good photograph of it. I'd like to do that. So that would be the next step. And then after that, I want to go north into North Dakota and go to Theodore Roosevelt National Park, another place I've always wanted to be, but just have never had a chance to go. Go up there, maybe take a couple landscapes, sunrise, sunset, plus look for some wildlife and photograph that. Kind of an idea. And then, that's kind of the plan for that one. Plan 2. My dad died in 2009, and one of the things that he never got to do in his lifetime, something he always wanted to do was go to the Grand Canyon. Now, I've flown over it, but I've actually never been to it. So I'm thinking is, again, take the Adventure Jeep, do the southern route, drive out to Arizona, spend the night in the Adventure Jeep, shoot sunrise, sunset, whatever at the Grand Canyon, just so I can, have some images and think about my dad, basically, while I'm there. And then after that, thinking of going to Horseshoe Bend, which isn't that far away. I can photograph sunset there as well. Might even do Antelope Canyon. Even thinking about maybe coming back through Moab and shooting either at Canyonlands or at Arches for a day or so, and before I come all the way back home. So that's option number 2. I'm at this point, I'm thinking for sure, I'm pretty much set on I'm going to be option 1, but love to know your thoughts. All right. Tell me what you think. Do you think, seeing the wall and photographing the wall, would you prefer that, or would you prefer the Grand Canyon? If you got an opinion, please leave it in the comments down below. I'd love to know. All right. Before I set anything up, I'd like to do it, because once I get back, then I'm going to start trying to find that part-time job, that I'm going to do for a couple of years here until my wife can retire, and we can go do something else together. All right. So I want to stop rambling and, try to end the video as quick as I possibly can, because I know the last couple I've done have been ridiculously long. All right, I do want to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe, and help grow the channel. Now, one thing I picked up from a channel called Switch It Up, which again, I'll put a link to their channel in the description as well if you want to go check it out. And they're RVers, YouTube RVers, or RVers at YouTube, whichever you would say. All right. They have a big following. I started watching them right when they first started. They had basically 100 or so subscribers when I started, watching them. And one of their members, the channel or subscribers, came up with the idea to help the channel grow. He would just always put in C, the letter C, the number 4, the letter Y, letter T. All right, that would be his comment. Comment for YouTube. All right, so this guy came with this idea and he just did it, and they always share that. And a lot of people do it now, and their channel has grown from basically nothing to 90, 100,000 subscribers now. So if you want to help grow the channel, but you want to do it simple, just leave a comment, C4YT, and that helps the algorithm, and it'll put my videos out there more for people to see. So if you want to help, that's a great way to do it. So I would appreciate it if you would. All right. So I'm going to end the ramble, stop there, and just remind everybody, stay safe till we see you again. Thanks for coming along.